back in live, back having a conversation, and we're coming back into the conversation about basics, right? And so what I was saying, the sentiment that I was bringing as I was cut off and the camera went to silence, is that there's a lot of stuff going out there as far as content is concerned. And I love that. And I think there's a lot of great ways to be able to dig through the content. And yet one of the things that I'm noticing, and I was having a conversation again with one of our top agents, Melanie Dubendorf with Mad Properties. And she was just saying that, like, there's almost this fear or this desire to wait and see what's going to happen. And so there are some agents that are somewhat in that middle ground of like what to do next. And the reality is that the basics are never out of style. The basics are never out of date. And I think we've gotten into a place where we've forgotten that to an extent. We're out here moving at the speed of sight, at the speed of sound, at the speed of something that's moving fast. And we're missing our opportunities to really capitalize on what's happening in the world around us by really just digging back into the basics. And so that's what we're going to have a conversation about today. And in that process, really open up some actionable items. I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to be able to do, is we've got to have some action items come out of this. If we are just listening to things happen around us and we're not really opening up what that looks like for us as an actionable item, then we're missing the whole point of like having conversation and developing our skill sets, and we're missing out on everything. And so today we're going to talk about basics. I'm going to talk about 4 things specifically, and there's a little asterisk at the bottom. There's going to be a star. There's going to be a star to the show, a little gold moment that we're going to dig out. So when I look at everything that I want to have a conversation about, one of the very first things is prospecting. The second thing is going to be lead generation. Third thing is going to be about conversion. And the last thing is going to be about marketing. And so as we're discussing these things, I want to encourage you guys, as you're part of this conversation, to make comments. I will tell you there's a little bit of a delay on the Facebook side of things, which is fine. So don't hesitate to write down your comments or bring comments into the play. I just may not answer them in real time. It'll look slightly like there's a delay. And I also have somebody out there monitoring it, so she'll make sure that I know if there's any questions that I've missed. So we'll catch up and we'll pick up on all of it. And again, my biggest thing is to make sure that you guys can have actionable items coming back into your business immediately from the conversations we have today. So the very first thing, right, we're going back to the basics. And the idea behind this is not rocket science, just so that we're on the same page. It's not rocket science, and yet there's some inspection that we can do to make sure that the things that are going to build our business the fastest are still the same during COVID as they are in times of like great vast opportunity. Okay, so let's dig into this, right? Prospecting. So the very first thing that we're going to look at. When I look at prospecting, I am considering prospecting being exploratory. Prospecting is about growth. Prospecting is about that next little moment, right? In that next moment. When I think about prospecting, it is different than lead generation. And this is a Randy Olive opinion. This is not necessarily, you're going to read this in some book somewhere. But when I look at prospecting, I am looking at it from these spaces. It is exploratory. It is growth. It is next. And think about it from the idea of somebody who's mining for gold, or somebody who's out there working to build like their own, whatever it may be. If they're out there working to find something new, then they are absolutely working towards something that it's a mystery, and they're uncovering the mystery, right? The prospector prospecting for gold is really, they're uncovering a mystery. And in the same sense, when we're looking at prospecting, I want you to think about it in that term. There's a mystery that you're uncovering so that you can continue to find new ways to lead generate. But prospecting, in my opinion, is a little bit different than lead generation. I know that those words can get flip-flopped back and forth all the time, and that's what I want you to look at. Prospecting, the way we're going to talk about it today, is about that exploratory moment. It's about growth, and it's about next. The very first thing that I want to look at when we talk about prospecting, and so these are the things. There's going to be 3 things with each of these points. I want to make it super simple so we can put it into action. The very first thing is that prospecting is creativity. Okay. When I think about prospecting, I am thinking about it being in that creative space. And so it's about, what can I do that is different right now, and to be able to get results that I need in my business. And it's easy to be able to have that question, and a lot of people ask that question, but I want you to think about it in this phase. If I were considering creativity in my business. There's a couple of things that I would 100% be doing. I would be following top agents and seeing what they are doing in their business, because if they're having success, then I should probably start to follow suit. I would follow some of these icons, right? I would start to find a way in which I can stand on the shoulders of giants and see what are some of these icons doing in their businesses right now, and how can I grab something and put it into my business. You see, I think we get caught up in so much of the day-to-day activity that we miss the creative boat all day long, and we overly complicate what creativity is. I was having a conversation with one of our agents, and we were specifically talking about an event that she wanted to do. And as we started talking about that event, it became very clear to me that she was looking at it from a space of, I can have a very one-to-one relationship with each of these people, which is very good and it's very true. And as we opened up the conversation, I started asking her questions to get her into a mind frame of, what would it look like if you took those concepts and expanded your work into their networks? And from that, it was just brilliant. The things that she started, and I'm not going to give away her trade secrets, but the things that she started coming up with were absolutely brilliant when she stopped thinking about, how can I do a +1 and how can I multiply? How can I bring exponential? So when you think about prospecting, again, this is our moment to dig for gold. What tools do you have to dig for gold? What does that look like in a space of, I'm going to pick up some other random source of potential lead generation, whatever that may look like. So again, her moment was a one-to-one connection that she realized she can make exponential. I may be looking at it from a new advertising process. I may look at it from a new branding process. The use of social media. Gosh, I'm watching a lot of agents right now, I think mostly out of boredom, get on TikTok. And yeah, it's awesome and it's fun to watch them do that. In my opinion, I'll just throw it in the trash can, but some of them are like, dude, there's a reason why it's younger. We're 38. We're a little too old to be on TikTok. Anyways, side note, kind of thrown away to the trash. Get creative. What does it look like to be creative? When I think about Ryan Serhant, I probably pronounced that completely wrong. When he's talking about his book, one of the things that he really does is he talks about creativity and how he pulled creativity into his world. He took just ideals from drama. He was a drama nerd growing up, and so he took a lot of these like moments from drama and figured out, like, what can I do to take these and put them in a process into my world to help me be better and help me be more creative. And so when you think about creativity, it's not overly complicating on how you can make the next cool viral moment. Creativity is just about, how can you reach the most amount of people in the least amount of time, the least amount of effort. That's about creativity. And there's a myriad of ways that we can do that. And if we don't think about prospecting and we separate it a little bit from lead gen, you're only going to be looking at a space of, how can I pick up the phone and dial? Well, prospecting is about helping us get into an enhanced marketing opportunity, okay? So again, prospecting, and we're gonna be digging into this a little bit as we get into the marketing bug, and yet creativity is really important. Now, here's the challenge, and this is the biggest thing. When you think about creativity, it's our moment to start uncovering dirt. It's our opportunity to start finding where new gold is. It's sifting through all of that stuff. It is not a replacement for lead generation. In this time right now in COVID, what I'm watching is a lot of agents who use their creativity and prospecting, not true lead generation, but prospecting, they're using that as their lead generation tool. If I don't get into a one-to-one conversation that I can bring a close and get a result that I desire in my business, then I'm not actually prospecting. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not doing lead generation. I'm not doing anything so if I am in this bucket, this creativity, it is not to replace our lead generation. And we'll understand a little bit more about lead generation here in a second. The second thing that we're looking at when I'm looking at prospecting, so the first thing is to be able to bring creativity to it. That word does not say creativity, by the way, in case you can't read. Second thing, leverage. You've got to be able to find where you can leverage your opportunities. Prospecting should be a highly leveraged action. And what I mean by that is it needs to be automated. If you're looking at your world, you need to be exploring automation. You need to be exploring how you can automate things. And this doesn't necessarily mean how you can have some random person answering your phone for you. Automation is as simple as having a respond text to go out, having an automated response that goes out to my emails to help everybody know where they need to go for the next information. Sending out ads through Facebook, sending out ads through email campaigns, sending out ads through a myriad of things. There's a lot of stuff that we're looking at that I think we are missing the boat, because the way we bring our own filters into this space is that we don't understand that leveraging this piece out is showing us where our next opportunities are. If I spend all of my time prospecting and not into lead generation specifically, well, I'm missing my opportunity to actually have my business grow. And so when I look at prospecting, I need to be sending out a lot of messages to figure out how I can start gaining the new fishing spot. Where's my new mining spot? Prospecting is about finding those new mining spots. And if I put all of my efforts into one box, well, then I'm going to either win or lose by that box. And I'm putting a lot of trust in that basket. So when you look at prospecting, I want you to think about it as like, how can I automate things to be able to go out into the world to see what sticks? How can I create a message that is creative that's going to stick? How can I make sure that everything that I'm doing around my business is sending out my brand, my message, my everything? And at the end of the day, finding a way to get back to a one-to-one conversation. Prospecting is not necessarily about the one-to-one conversation. It's about the masses. How can I turn the masses into a relationship? Okay, it's about digging. It's about that gold moment. Okay, so again, looking at this, creativity, leverage, automation. The third thing is going to be what I look at and how I view lead generation. And we're going to talk about one little moment in lead generation. Okay, when I look at lead generation, I think it is in 3 different spaces. I think one, we concentrate our lead gen. Let me make sure that this is going to be lead gen. The first thing is we concentrate our efforts into where are we best? Okay, I'm going to say this. Where are we best? If I really looked at my world and I understood where I was best, that should be the very first place that I go for my lead gen. And if I'm looking at the best place that I am at lead gen, this should be a high percentage of my goal. Okay, I want to make sure to say this. If I'm looking at lead gen, where I am best should be a high percentage of my goal. So if I'm great at the sphere side of things, well, then my sphere should be my best and it should be the highest percentage of my goal. If I'm looking at, I'm good at the terminated or expired, that's great. If that's my best, it should be the highest percentage. If I'm really good on the social media that is actually attracting attention that gives me a one-to-one conversation so that I can close, well, then that's my best and it should be your highest percentage. The second thing I'm going to look at is where's the opportunity? Where's my most opportunity? And it still has to align with my skill sets, where I'm good. And so I'm going to be looking at opportunity. If I'm looking at these 2 things, this is a total of my goal. My real estate goal should be handled in lead generation in this space. Best, highest percentage. This should make up the rest of the percentage. And then there's a very clear line drawn. And when I look at opportunity, here's what the biggest thing on the opportunity. There may be a lot of fishing poles in the water, but there's enough fish that by percentage, I'll be just fine. So if I looked at this for my own personal life, when I was in production, my best was with my sphere. I had a lot of great opportunities and I had a lot of great activity in my sphere. It really was my best. I closed an average of 20 to 22 deals a year out of my sphere. Okay. In the opportunity category, if I were to be back into the world of production, I would 100% go into the farming my neighborhood. I would 100% be able to make up the difference in farming my neighborhood. If I was looking to be able to create my goals and I was getting into production, this would be how I would do my lead generation. I would go to those 2 sources and I would make sure that they were completely possibly able to get me my goal. I don't know that we look at it this way. When we look at our businesses, we want to try to scrape everything off and say, here's my big bag of lead gen. The truth of the matter is that if I really want to be good, I need to have these things systematic and knocking it out of the park. A lot of us are realizing right now we do not have a lead generation system because we are watching our business drop because we just collected things in this big old giant bag and it's not working. And so now we're getting into the phase of not working. And in the phase of not working, we're getting fearful. And so we go back to the creativity pool and we think creativity is 100% of our lead generation. And now we're watching challenges happening in our businesses because we're scrambling when all we got to do is make sure that we're executing and running the play of the most simple playbook, okay? So here's the thing, though. Here's my point for this prospecting moment, right? So I took a little dive into lead generation to make this point right here. Number 3, what is a weakness in a customary space of lead gen, okay? Where is one of your weaknesses in a customary space of lead generation? And when I say that, there are some pretty standard set spaces for lead generation. Farming, terminated and expired, FSBO, which for sale by owner, your sphere, digging into your database, having client events, do whatever it may be, networking. There's some pretty standard. If you looked at any real estate agent, you said, hey, what are your lead generation sources? There's probably 5 or 6 that they're pretty consistently doing across the board. In those spaces, what is one that is in one of your weakness categories, but still has a little bit of tinge in a strength of yours, okay? Where is one place that is a standard kind of lead generation space that you're weak in, but it still kind of aligns with where your strengths are? You're weak in it, but it aligns with where your strengths are, because here's the thing. If these two right here are filling 100% of my goal, and I take this weakness box right here, and I start really working hard towards this for an entire year, my expectations is nothing but to get better. Well, for an entire year, from January to December, I practiced that mug over time until I got really, really good at it. So next year, when I look at my goal, and I've hit 100% of my goal of 30 plus transactions, and I've got to be able to add a new lead generation space, I can easily take this moment that I've been working on. It now goes above the line. My goal is set, and I already have a lead generation space that's going to give me the 5 to 10 transactions to help me hit my goal space for the next year. And I hope this is making sense to you. I know that I talk a little fast, and so you're welcome to slow me down or ask comments if you want over here on the side. And yet, how simple is it to really begin thinking like this for your businesses? To say that every single day, the playbook that I'm going to run is that every single day I'm going to prospect and bring creativity to start mining for what other opportunities are out there. I'm going to leverage as much as I can to make sure I'm automating to cast as many seeds to see what grows, right? I'm Johnny Appleseed right here. And then in my lead generation, I'm going to make sure that I'm hitting my goal based off of the things that I'm really good at. And I'm going to work towards one of these classic lead generation opportunities to see where I might be able to capitalize on building a strength for an entire year, so that then when I reset my goals, this goes above the lines. I find my next prospecting weakness, and I am never hitting a glass ceiling of what I want to do to grow a business, because I've prepared myself by having a very simple, very easy, very itemized prospecting resource in my life. I know that this sounds overly simplified, and yet the reality is, if I live a fraction of the effort into this, I shouldn't have any issues ever coming up with what's next. Here's my biggest thing for you guys. So this is what I would encourage you to do. Drop the fear of your expectations. Okay? And test the waters. Send out 1,000 messages and see what happens. Make 1,000 phone calls. See what happens. 1,000 phone calls is going to take you a long time, though. Put the effort out there to figure out what's going to happen and see what happens. Start studying like crazy one of your weaknesses and see what happens. You see, when we start practicing in the ways in which we will play, now we have created the internalization, and we've made this strong. So if I'm going to go out there and I'm going to start understanding the basics, I need to understand there is a basic, really simple application of prospecting in my world based off of my opinion on how I'm defining prospecting, right? So now we're going to dig into what most of y'all call prospecting, which I think is just lead generation. So let's talk about that. Okay. So we're going to go into lead generation. When I think about lead generation, here's the deal. If I'm doing lead generation, I already own the sources. Let me say this right now. If I am talking about lead generation, I already own the sources. So prospecting and the way that I'm defining prospecting is different than I define lead generation. Prospecting, I'm looking for and I'm mining for my opportunity for gold. Lead generation is my bank account. Okay, I'm actually going to write this out for you. Lead generation is your bank account. It is this, I own the sources. My goals are predicted by my lead generation. Okay, I want to make sure I say that out loud. My goals are predicted by my lead generation. The conversion ratios that help grow and build my businesses come from lead generation. My profit and loss comes from my lead generation. I know I started with prospecting to draw a differentiating factor, but I want to harp on the fact that lead generation is our standard set for what we have in place as our goals, as our monetary value of our business. The monetary value of your business is weighed by your lead generation when you're in real estate. So we're going to look at a couple of these things, guys. Again, there's 3 points. I'm keeping it really simple and gosh, easy to put into action. And I hope that you're finding ways that you can grab 1 or 2 of these things and put it immediately into your business and find results, okay? So the very first thing when I look at the lead generation side of things is that we should have clarity on the numbers, okay? Clarity on the numbers. And what I mean by that is that if your lead generation is your bank account, then my lead generation should 100% be organized to hit my goal, my number. So if I want to earn $30 million, or if I want to do $30 million in production, I should be able to work my way from $30 million, getting 3% of that $30 million, paying my cost of doing business with any of the companies that I work for. And I can easily move that into like, well, here's my net. And then to be able to get to that net, I simply divide that by the action that it's going to take to get me to that net. If I am following this math, it'd be real easy for me to look at the fact that I don't need to make 40 phone calls today. I need to have 40 people that I talk to today that can lead to my appointments that I need to make sure that I am on my standard to be able to capitalize and close on those appointments. You see, I know that a lot of times when we get into the lead generation, we kind of paint with this broad stroke. If I got enough, then I'm happy. And the reality is that if we are looking at anything in life, sure, if I spread out long enough, a curve will look like this. And it'll be beautiful. And we'll look at the growth and we'll be happy. But the reality is that our curves happen like this. When we zoom into it, it's like this. And if I'm growing like this, it means that every single day, there's a little bit more or a little bit less that comes from the activities that I've performed. Every single day, there's a little bit more or a little bit less coming from the activities that I perform. And so if I'm going to be looking to get back to the basics to help make sure that my business is flourishing, I'm going to look at my lead generations and understand exactly what my lead generation numbers need to be able to hit my goal. And many of us don't have clarity on this. Many of us don't have clarity on what do I actually have to do by means of one-to-one interactions to be able to hit my goal. What do I need by one-to-one actions to be able to hit my goal? And it really is all over the place, because if I started breaking it down, I need to do some prospecting, right? And those prospecting are going to turn into some lead generation moments that are going to turn into some conversations. Those conversations are going to turn into appointments. Those appointments are going to turn into signed agreements. And those signed agreements are going to turn into contracts. and those contracts are going to turn into closings. That's the simple process of this. It's not that difficult. If you're in real estate, you understand that. Real simple. If this is the process and I want 50 closings, I work my way backwards from the activities that it's going to take to make sure I can get to those 50 closings. And a lot of times what we don't realize is this is lead generation moment right here. It's going to cost you 20 talk tos every single day. That's not 20 dials. That's 20 talk tos every single day. And we don't have clarity on that. And so if we really want to talk about getting back to basics and executing a simplified version of our story to hit our goals, this is the number one thing. In the lead generation boat, we have to understand how our lead generation is hitting our goals. We have to have clarity on that. Okay, so our day starts with lead generation. If we're going to understand this and we look at our stuff and we understand that, like, this is our bank account. If this is my bank account and every single dollar I earn is going to come from lead generation, not my marketing, not my prospecting, not my brand recognition, not my Snapchat, not my Instagram, not my Facebook, not any of the little things that I'm doing. It's going to come from my lead gen. If that is the standard for my opportunities, it's going to come from my lead gen. Well, then I also need to understand that my day needs to start with lead gen. And most importantly, we need to understand what the net value of our day is. Okay, I talk about this a lot with agents, and this is really something that I think every single one of us will be able to walk away with and do. Okay, this will be something that every single one of us will be able to walk away with and will be able to do it. If we know what the net value of our day is, we know how to affect the change in our day to hit our goals. So if I'm going to look at my day, and I know that there are what I would call money-making activities, and then there's default activities. On the money-making side of things, what I really need to look at first is to be able to go in here and go, okay, so money-making activities. I do my calls, I do my cultivation, I do this, I do that, I do this. And I'll start listing all those things out. And if at the end of the day, my money-making activities, and as an imbalance of, I got to walk my dog, I got to go to the grocery store, I got to teach my kid, I got to do, right? I start listing all these things out, and I'm imbalanced towards my money-making activities. And I know that I need to get to a net positive every single day. Well, then I'm going to be able to enact change from the very start of my day, right? I start my day with lead generation, understanding the net value of my day. I can easily turn these events as I start out in the day into my lead generation opportunities. So if I need to go to the grocery store, obviously on a normal day, you might not be able to do this during COVID. I'm going to be damn sure that I have a conversation with somebody about real estate. If I know that I'm at a net negative for the money-making activities in my business, I'm going to find ways in which I can create positive net activities for my life. And it's as simple as that. I really hope that some of you are looking at that going, never thought about that before. It changed a lot of my perspective on what I did every single day when I measured myself for the net value of what my day would end up looking like if today rolled exactly the way it hit on my calendar. So our lead generation starts with the start of the day. Okay? It's the very first thing that we do. Our lead generation is our bank account. It is the thing that will help you get exactly where your goal is. Your lead generation is your goal set. Okay? And the last thing that I'm going to look at on the lead generation side of things, and I know that I pulled the sheet down, but we're just going to drop it down here. The third thing is that in lead generation, if you really want to be the best and you want to really look at a simplified version of being the best, tracking is equal to mastery. Okay? Tracking equals mastery. I'm going to write this in a little bit of a different color so that you can differentiate where I'm going with in this. Tracking is mastery. And here's the things that we need to track. I need to know if I'm really looking at this, tracking is mastery in lead generation. How many dials does it take for me to get somebody on the phone? Once I get somebody on the phone, right, and there's a one-to-one conversation, how many times getting somebody on the phone does that turn into an appointment? Okay, so once I get into that appointment, how many times does that appointment turn into a signed deal, right? And that signed deal means an agreement. I'm going to be able to list or buy with you. So a signed agreement. And then from there, this right here, if we're talking about lead generation, these are the important pieces that I want to be able to work through. If we're talking about lead generation, these are the important things. Now, I still want to make sure that you understand tracking. The next thing is going to be contracts written. So after I get a signed agreement, how many contracts do I write? And how many of those go to close? But if I want to look at and start tracking for mastery in lead generation, those are going to be the things. How many dials does it take to me to get to a phone call, a one-to-one conversation? How many one-to-one conversations does it take to me to get to an appointment? And how many appointments do I get to a signed agreement? That's lead generation. And if I'm really looking at creating a system and getting back to basics, right? This is a conversation of the back to basics. This should be spot checked every single day in my business. The place should just run. Okay. Again, I know that I'm talking fast. I am actually having a challenge getting y'all's comments to pull up. I hope that's okay. And if you have anything, guys, by all means, please drop it into the comments. I'm going to address any and everything. I set aside an hour, and yet if you have conversations that take me for the next 3 hours, I am happy to be able to help you. Gosh, just dig through this and get there. Okay. This and that little piece of paper that's hanging on there, our lead generation, it's our bank account. And if we don't protect it as such, like somebody's robbing your bank account every single day. I want you to think about that. That's actually a really great thought process. If I'm not really considering this, somebody is robbing your bank account every single day when you choose not to do lead generation. Somebody is robbing your bank every single day you choose to not do lead generation. And remember, prospecting and your creativity is fun and it's awesome. It's a necessary piece to the business, and yet it is not lead generation. Somebody is robbing your bank every single day you don't lead generate. Okay. One of your action items from this, I'll do it in green. Eat your frog. Eat your frog. Very first thing you do every single day, eat your frog. What I mean, none of you like lead generation. I get it. There's very few of us that like get energized, like, yeah, I'm gonna get, man, I love it. Love my lead generation. It's like, gosh, happier than everything I could ever do ever. None of us like our lead generation. Eat your frog every single day. Here's what's really neat about lead generation though. We have this fear moment, and that's it. The reason why we don't like lead generation is fear. And our fears are all over the places. It's rejection, it's being taken advantage of, it's trust, it's all like all of our little nasty little filters that you're going to need to go to counseling for. And the reality is that our fear begins to dissipate the more and more we dig into doing the activity that scares us. So eat your frog every single day and you'll make it a lot easier. And I love this. Thank you, Melanie, for sharing this. This is true. So Melanie Dubendorf, who just made a comment, if you're not watching the comments, then keep an eye on those bad boys. This is it. And I have this written down in my notes next to this little deal. I have this written down. Your frog right now is 2.4 times bigger. We get the opportunity to look at a lot. We get to look at a lot of statistics being in leadership for running brokerages. Right now, across the nation, one of the things that we're watching is how much more effort is necessary, the way the economy is shifting and the way COVID has created this like stay put moment is 2.4 times the amount. So if I was needing to get into this dial space of 50 dials every single day to get to 10 conversations, Alexa, what's 2.4 times 50? Alexa, what's 2.4 times 50? She ain't listening to me. She's taking a nap. I can't do math off the top of my head. I was educated in Georgia. Don't judge me. All right, 2.4. I love that. So that's perfect, Melanie. Thank you for sharing that because that's true. your efforts, when you're watching and you're paying attention to the way things change, you can pivot, right? You can pivot when you have this already in place. All right, so that's it. So we did prospecting, we did lead generation, we understood what the net value of our day is. We understand that we need to eat our frog every single day. We just need to get out there and start practicing, okay? Now let's talk about conversions. Conversions. Conversion. Having a lot of conversations about conversion. When I look at conversion, I'm going to give you all three of them right up front because they actually trail into each other, if you will, okay? Thank you, Melanie. 120. There we go. Alexa I probably had all y'all's Alexas talking. And I do apologize. I'm watching that Facebook and all this stuff. I've been watching it kind of flicker in and out and on and off. And so I do apologize if it slows down, if it gets caught up, or if it breaks. Do forgive me. I am recording this, and this will go on to my YouTube channel if you want to watch it and scrub through it later. Okay. Talking about conversions. So let's look at our idea about conversions. The very first thing that we're going to look at is empathy, okay? Second thing that we're going to look at embedded commands, embedded. The last thing that we're going to look at is closing. This is a simple process for your conversions, okay? When I look at conversions, I'm thinking about script practice. I'm thinking about role play. I'm thinking about language of sales. I'm thinking about sales in general as a skill, okay? I think a lot of us have a challenge right now being a salesperson, and I think it's because we've got this in our back of our brain. What a salesperson looks like is this dirty used car salesman, and you've got to get that wiped out of your space and to understand that a salesperson, a true salesperson is genuinely 100% an advocate for people. A salesperson is an advocate for people. And whether you like sales or don't like sales, we are all always selling. We are all always selling, whether that's in your family, whether that's in your work, whether that's in your board that you're running. We are selling all the time. So there's nothing wrong with selling. And when I look at selling, I think about it as an advocate position. But when I think about conversion, let me make sure we understand what we're talking about when we look at conversion. When I'm thinking about conversion, I'm talking about if I get the opportunity to have a conversation with you, I'm moving that conversation in the direction of your needs and of your goals. If anybody ever calls me to talk about real estate, the reason why they're calling to talk to me about real estate, if I ever get a chance to get on the phone with somebody that I initiate a conversation about real estate, and they're willing to hang on with me to have a conversation with real estate. If I ever send a message about real estate and somebody responds to me with a curiosity about real estate, okay? If that moment is happening, there is a desire in there somewhere to buy or sell in the future. And in the Methuselah concept of life, if I give everyone enough time, they will all buy a house. They will all sell a house. And so for me, it's about converting when I get the opportunity to have the conversation. And here's the thing that I think we're missing. This is the basic concept. The things that we're missing. The way we convert conversations before COVID are the same ways we convert conversations during COVID. The same conversations that we used to convert during COVID are the same conversations that we use that we converted before COVID are the same conversations that we use during COVID. The conversion is the same, and the conversion happens in these spaces right here. And I apologize, I think live is glitching, but I am still here. And so again, we'll make sure that this is copied and pasted and put into my YouTube channel so that you guys can come back to it. It's about empathy, embedded commands, and closing. If you really want to look at how you can have a very simplified system for your conversion ratio, for converting conversations, it's about empathy first. And when I think about empathy, most people don't really understand what an empathetic statement looks like. An empathetic statement is 100% just agreeing with somebody in the position that they're in. Okay, it's 100% just agreeing with somebody in the position they're in. And for example, if I'm talking with somebody and they say, well, look, I have a fear right now that the market's just going to crash and I'm going to have nowhere to go. An empathetic statement It's just understanding and agreeing with their position. I understand, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. So it sounds like you have a lot of fear right now for what's going to happen with your home. You don't know if it's going to sell or if it's going to sit. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it sounds like what you mean by that is that your fear is that you don't know where you're going to go next. Yeah, man, you're reading my mind. No, I'm not. I'm literally just repeating back to you. And here's the reason why we do this, guys. And I know it sounds nuts, and yet it's very true. When we empathize, when we bring an empathetic statement, we are essentially giving them the opportunity to hear themselves and to validate their positioning and their feelings. That's it. We're getting them an opportunity to hear their thoughts and validate their feelings. And in this business, I don't know if you realize this, but emotions will make us act. Data will always make us think. And so one of the challenges that we're having right now is that we still think that the more data we bring, the more ability we'll have to get somebody to get moving. So if I tell you that, man, the market's on fire, it's like, oh man, I didn't realize the market was on fire. Let me pull out all my cash and start making it rain. Data only creates thought processes. One of our challenges in conversion is that when we're met with these objections, we go straight into data. And data is not the very first step that you take. The very first step you take is an empathetic statement to understand where their positioning is. Now, I will tell you the precursor to empathetic statement is actually to understand and to know why do they want to move. You should have some sort of needs analysis in your back pocket. I hope I don't have to spend time there because that should be a one-on-one. If I'm sitting down with somebody and we're having a conversation, I should have at some point already understood what the reason is for them to want to move. I should already have that in my pocket. I know this is a simple and it's a basics conversation, and yet I'm going to ride right on past that one because that's the most basic. We should always be doing that, okay? So when I look at it, I need to be able to create these empathetic statements. And now here's the deal. When I look at why I consider script practice and role play one of the key elements in this conversion ratio, this converting conversation, how do I convert? The reason why that we get into script practice and role play is that the people who wrote those are writing them from a language standpoint that helps move conversations forward. We get in there and we start to flubber through. It's like, oh, I just want to create this natural little reaction. It's like, yeah. And in your natural little reaction, you forgot that in our brains, we are always cycling through, are you a danger or aren't you a danger? The way I figure out if you're a danger or not is, do I have rapport with you? That's the very first thing. So if I don't have rapport with you, you're out. And so now I've gone through and I figured out, okay, I got rapport with this guy, but yet he doesn't understand me. The reason why these things are written this way is that their empathetic statements help people understand that I get their positioning where they're from, and I understand and I'm validating where their feelings are. And until we're on that page, I can't move them forward. The way I do move them forward, though, is to understand what the idea of embedded commands are, right? And an embedded command is simply a statement or a command that is laced into the sentence. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I know that you want to be able to blah, 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 blah. In that process, I'm going to say something along the lines of, so when we sign this contract, you understand that this is going to be one of the most glorious days of your life to be able to get exactly what you need in your needs analysis that we just talked about. Doesn't sound really that intriguing, right? But immediately, if you rewound and listen to what I said, I told that person when you signed this contract. Little embedded command that was just about celebrating moment, right? I found it to the end of the conversation. We get into celebrating, and here's my moment. It's a little moment. So again, the things that helped us to convert before COVID are the same things that help us convert during COVID. Now, here's a challenge. I'm actually broadcasting this on my page, so anybody who's a consumer listening to this, they're understanding that you probably should be doing these things, and hopefully they're paying attention to it. This is where I hope the cream of the crop, the agents who are the best, rise to the top. Because I'm going to share it with the public, and I think it's awesome, and I think it should be that way. I think you should find ways to be able to help them move forward, because if I am an advocate for them and I understand where their needs are, then I'm moving them from the point of walking into a department store knowing that I need to buy a pair of pants, and I walk in, the person says, hey, can I help you? And you go, no, I'm just looking. It's like, no, I need pants. I 100% need pants. I just lied to you. I'm not just looking, I need pants. Every single person we get the opportunity to have a conversation with, they need a pair of pants, or in this case, they need to buy or sell real estate. It's just our opportunity to be an advocate for them, to help them get through the thought processes to make sure that, is this going to be the best decision for me and my family right now? The way that I do that is to get into this space. I have the same conversations. I go in and I, with empathy, help them know that they are not alone in their thought processes, that I understand. That I move them through the conversation with embedded commands. When we sign this contract, work with me. These are skill sets that when we employ them, they make sense. The way we employ them when we don't have these skill sets is scripts. There's a bajillion scripts out there. I'm using bajillion again. I don't know why. That's my COVID word of the year. There's a bajillion scripts out there, guys. And when we look at conversion ratios, there's not a different conversation that's happening. The most successful agents right now, they're not doing anything differently. They don't have a secret sauce. They're not making some sort of special highfalutin demand that's going like nuts. They're simply having conversations with people, and they're organizing their language to make sure that they're moving the progress forward. They're not being stumped by somebody who says, well, man, I don't even know if I have the ability to sell my house right now. Man, I don't even know, like, is anybody even buying houses? Man, I don't know, like, COVID's got everybody isolated. And man, the most important thing to me is to make sure that I have an open house every weekend. Okay, there's a myriad of things in which people will use as excuses, objections, or conditions to why they can't move forward. And our ability to convert, our ability to move those things forward is to have the simple conversations that worked from the very beginning. I think we have this fear that now, because of COVID, we all have to operate by these certain models and certain like systems that it's a secret. We got to dig them up. And the reality, it's not a secret. It's still the same thing. If you care about what you're doing, and if you're truly being an advocate through sales, it's not a secret, and you haven't created a weird space. You've created a space of advocacy for people in their spaces where they need it. And in my fear, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to climb up like this if I'm watching what's happening with prices, if I'm watching what's happening with economy, if I'm watching what's happening with the days on market, if I'm watching what's happening to my neighbors, if I'm watching what's happening with just the nation in general, if I'm watching what's happening all around me, I'm putting all of that is translating into my inner being. My feelings and my filters are now going off like that. And if I, as an agent, as an advocate, as a sales professional, can help you organize your thoughts through empathizing with what you're saying, to have embedded commands, to ask the best questions, I can arrange your process and your thoughts to make sure that you can make the best decision for you and your family. A lot of people right now, I'm watching it in weak moments. I'm going to say this, it might bite me later. Weak people are choosing weak agents who are rolling over and saying, yeah, let's do whatever. And their houses are going off the market right now because we don't know how to have conversations. It's interesting that right now there's so many buyers out there. I have a ton of buyer agents that I coach. All of them have buyer contracts right now. And so if you're a seller and you're taking your house off the market, you're taking it off the market when there seems to be a plethora of buyers willing, ready, and able to make purchases at market value. We just get caught up in the conversations and the fear of what's going to happen when we sound like we say something wrong, or we do something wrong, or we're too pushy, or we sound like a salesperson. If you're an advocate, you're going to ask the right questions. You're going to empathize with their position to help them understand that they're valid in their thought processes, in the way that they feel. And we're going to move them through the conversation by making sure, one, we're protecting their needs. We understand their needs, so we're protecting their needs. We're protecting them because we're a fiduciary. We're advocating for them, but we're helping organize their thoughts by embedding the commands that we need them to be able to move forward. Okay? I know this sounds a little bit too convoluted. The way you do this is script practice and role play. The way you do this is script practice and role play. The way you do this is script practice and role play. People before us have gone, and we get to stand on the giants and organize our thoughts and put them together. I promise you right now, I bet you could go get any objection handling. As a matter of fact, I'll broadcast. If you want, email me, randyolive@kw.com. I will send you an objection list. You could take every single one of those objections and just replace the objection with COVID. And I guarantee you, it'll be the script that you needed to get people to move forward. Because there's something magical when we arrange language to get people to be in the right thought process. Think about the person who's coming in to buy pants. If I really wanted to convert them in my space, and I know that they need pants, I wouldn't say, can I help you? Nope. I want to voyeuristically walk around the store and pick out the pair of pants that I want. But if you walk in and say, what direction can I point you in? It's like, no direction. Nobody's going to answer that. They're going to say, well, I was looking for a pair of pants. Awesome. Did you realize that we had a sale on pants? If you go back down this way right here, you're going to be able to find 2 aisles down. And I think that's the challenge, is blah, 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 blah. I get you to the directions because I asked a better question to get you to the space of your need. Okay. So when you're sitting across from somebody and they say, I don't know what to do. I think I want to take my house off the market. And you scramble for the conversation that you need to have. Simple. Point them in the direction of their need. I understand, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. So it sounds like you have a lot of fear of the unknown right now. Yeah, man, Randy, it's nuts right now. Okay. And it sounds like you may even feel like you might be taken advantage of. Yeah, like, I mean, if buyers are coming on the market, I want to get the market value. Okay, so it sounds like you believe that you're losing market value because of what's happening with COVID. Yes, Randy, that's exactly how I feel. So if we looked at this from a different angle, and I was able to show you what's currently happening with the buyer pool, would you be interested in at least seeing what buyers are doing right now? Sure, let's take a look. We shift the conversation and move forward, right? And I'm shooting from the hip, and yet that's more than likely where I would start with the conversation to get them out of the frame, empathize with where they're at, and be able to start embedding some commands to help them move forward. It's all about the questions and being a true advocate. If you believe you're an advocate and you're advocating for people, you will ask the right questions and you will do the right thing. Conversion is happening in this space. The last thing I'm going to say is closing. So the simplicity of what you should be creating as a program, as a system in your business. If we're going to simplicity, right? We went to prospecting, went to lead generation, we're doing conversion. If you're converting, you're closing, right? You are closing, and there's ways to get into the closing space. The way I look at closing is simple. You're here, I want you to go here. Sometimes I want you to go here. But at the end of the day, if you're here, all I want you to do is take 1 step forward. How can I close you into 1 step forward? We just showed 20 houses. I'm frustrated. We're sitting here at the end. None of them you want to buy. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, look, I understand that there's no more houses that you like. So one of the things that I want to do is that it looks like you're free today on Thursday at 5 p.m. Why don't we set next Thursday at 5 p.m. is going to be the next time we get together, and we'll go look at some more houses. Well, Randy, we don't have any houses we know we want to look at. It's like, awesome. Yeah, I know. So between now and next Thursday, our goal is to get at least 5 houses that we're going to go look at so that we can get you into the home that you want. That is what you want, right? Closing to the next step. If I get on the phone call and I'm with somebody and they're like never wanting to meet with me again, can I close you to a next step? Can I get you 1 step further? All right, so I understand, James, you don't want to do this. I get it, man. I get it. But here's the deal. It sounded like you were interested at least in what I was going to show you in the buying process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mail you over our buyer process. I'm going to give you a couple documents in there. And so why don't I give you a call on Tuesday, and we get the opportunity to talk through any questions that might arise from the documents that I send over to you. Would that be okay? Yes. Good, because I know that you want to purchase a home within this next year. Is that right? Yeah. And so the only way we get there is to understand how you can get through this process properly. Sweet. So I'll talk to you on Tuesday. I'm going to give you a call on Tuesday. Would that be okay? Yeah. So I'm expecting to be able to get a chance to chat with you on Tuesday. Appreciate it, James. And so we just take it and we close to the next step. Most of the time, obviously, we want to be able to get to the appointment, but like I think we miss on the opportunity to make them take a step further. I tell you what, James, why don't I do this? I'm going to send you a text message as soon as we hang up, and it's going to be a link to the blah, 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 blah. It'll show you all the information. When you're digging through that, you're going to have a question. Send me that one question that you have, and I'll just answer that one question through text. Would that be okay? Man, fine. Yeah. Hey, Miss, right? I think we missed the opportunity that we have as we're walking people through the process to convert by getting them to close to the next step. Right now, this is one of the biggest challenges that we're facing in the COVID whole process, is that there are a lot of people who are walking through each of these steps. They're going through the process, they're moving, they were still doing some of our same lead generation moments, and they're going, man, I'm just not ready. I'm just pacing. I don't want to do this next, right? And we go, okay, I'll follow up with you in 3 weeks. There's nothing wrong with that. But the better opportunity is, how can I close you to the next step to go forward? Man, Randy, I'm not doing this. It's going to be at least 6 months before I can buy a home. Sweet. So I'll tell you what, I hear you. I'm going to send you A, B, and C, and then I'm going to follow up with you on Friday to make sure that you don't have any questions in this. Would that be okay? Yeah, man, Randy, that'd be great. Sweet. So I'll talk to you on Friday. Done. I closed you to the next step just to make sure we could get there. And I'm going to call you on Friday, and we're going to have a conversation on Friday. And guess what? Friday is a long damn way from 6 months. And so I've got to close you again. We miss our opportunity to close people along the way so that we can make sure we move the process forward. This is a journey. A journey is one step at a time. If I expect to close you, then I should be closing you 5 to 12 times. Every single moment I get to. And it's about taking the next step. So if we're really having a conversation about conversion, my systems are set. My systems are set. My simplicity are set to understand what empathetic statements are, to get into embedded commands, and to close people. If you do those 3 things, if you just do those 3 things, you will be moving forward. I promise you. randyolive@kw.com. Email me. If you need anything that I'm talking about, I'm sending it all to you. There's nothing that I hold back. Okay? The one thing that you can do, I will tell you, because most of you don't understand when I say empathetic statements, I know for a fact that most of you don't understand this. And yet it's always, almost always, the very first line of any kind of script. It's any kind of objection handling script. It's almost always the very first line. You need to go and master empathetic statements. And here's the reason why. One, it helps the conversation move forward, but the bigger reason why you need to understand empathetic statements, we almost always shut down the conversation when we get shut down. When we hit a roadblock, we shut down the conversation. The reality is that if I incorporated empathetic statements, it gives me more than just the opportunity to move the conversation forward. It gives me a moment to pump the brakes and think. Let me understand, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. What you're saying is this. Yeah, Randy, I'm saying this. Okay. And I hear you say this. Yeah, I'm saying that. And what I understand is that this is how you feel. Yeah, you're man. You know me. Gosh, you get me, Randy. Really what it did is it got my brain to shut down from going into close down. I don't know what to do. I have nothing to say. So I'm just going to agree. I'm going to roll over and I'm going to say, sure, I'll call you in 6 months. It gives us the opportunity to be able to keep the conversation going, get our brains engaged. They think that we're on their side. And now I have the opportunity to be on their side and be an advocate for them. Okay. I hope this makes sense, guys. This is conversion. The things that we did to convert conversations before COVID are the same exact things we're doing after or during COVID. We may or may not have employed them skills from the very get-go. And so it's hard when somebody says, well, right now I don't want to buy because of X, Y, and Z. And I get that. But there's no difference in that than I don't want to buy right now because the market looks like it's going nuts. It's like, the market, let me ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I hear what you're saying about the market. But when we're talking about you needing to get into the school system before school started, like your daughter's education is what's on the line in this process. So help me understand, what is it that we need to do to make you feel comfortable with moving this process forward? Well, we have fears of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So what I'm hearing, empathetic statement, is just repeat it back to them. And it gives us the opportunity to slow down, listen, be an advocate, and help ask questions to move conversations forward. The same things that we did to convert conversations before are the same things that we're doing to convert conversations now. Script practice and role play. Learn what empathetic statements are. If you need a book, The Like Switch, L-I-K-E, The Like Switch. Okay? That'll help you understand a little bit about that. You might even be able to just Google it and read an excerpt about empathetic statements. All right, guys. We're moving into the last one. I'm sorry. I got onto a little bit of soapbox. I hope you understand, like, I love this kind of conversations. The basics get me jazzed. This is fun to have conversations about. And I truly believe if you were simply moving in this direction a month ago, your business isn't halting. If you're moving in this direction a month ago, your business hasn't halted. And so the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago. Second best time to plant a tree is today. So this is our opportunity to plant a tree today so that we can start putting these things, these basic things into practice and to keep our businesses moving forward. The last thing we're going to talk about today is marketing. And I'm going to make this quick. This is the last one on the page. And the reason why I made it last is that it's really simple. When I think about marketing, this is our moment to be marketing the crap out of our businesses. We should be marketing ourselves every single day. And there's a lot of great opportunities for that. But we're going to look at three things. The very first thing, if I want to start marketing, and why most of us are stunted in our marketing, is that we don't have clarity around our mission, vision, values. The very first thing, if you want to be able to create a marketing plan around your business, you should know what your mission, vision, values are. Second thing we're going to look at is video. If you are not doing video, you might as well be using a fax machine. If you're not doing video, you might as well be using a fax machine because you're in that same pool. I know it sounds silly, but yet that is the same exact thing. If you are choosing to not do video in this day and age, it's the same thing as if you went to your office to fax an offer over to somebody. Video is king in communication right now, okay? And then number three is going to be able to have social media consistency. Okay? Marketing, mission, vision, values, video, and social media marketing. These are the things, social media consistency. These are the things that absolutely are the most basic elements that you have to have in your business, in your marketing. So you're going to be able to create these simple systems, right? If we're spot checking the basics, marketing is one of the basics, and it's about brand, it's about message, and it's about consistency. So when I look at what is your mission, vision, value, this is really important because if I were to start making and creating a message about who I am as a business, I better know who I am as a business. That's a very dumb statement. And yet so many of us do not have a mission, vision, and values statement, okay? So many of us do not have a mission, vision, and values statement. Take time and really think about your business. What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Where are your values aligned? Who do you want to go with you in the process? Where are you going? How far are you going? How big and how narrow is your vision? Because if I really want to look at this from a standpoint of basics, I truly need to understand what my message is going to be for the long term. And the long term is going to be found in my mission, vision, and values. If you don't understand how to craft your mission, vision, values, that's a whole nother story. And I'm happy to help. I do that. Actually, that's my soapbox. So I'm trying desperately not to stand on my soapbox. But if I want to really create a crafted marketing message, I will 100% know what my mission, vision, and values are. RandyOlive@kw.com. Happy to help in any way that I can. Second thing is video, okay? Your video is a must. It's absolutely a must. You need to get yourself on camera, always on camera. You need to find ways to be on camera. Video is a great way to start building your presence, and especially with social media. But video is a great way, and here's a couple of the reasons why. I am really big on video, especially during the times of COVID. It's mostly for meetings that I'm having with my agents and with any and everybody, really. And the reason being is that there's a lot of complexities that happen with rapport that happen on our face. And if I can look at your face and I understand where I can trust you, I can watch the furrow of your brow, I can watch your scowl, I can watch your smile, I can watch your frown, I can watch the way you're expressing yourself and understand whether or not I can trust you. And so if I'm only utilizing words and letting words be the space to be able to help build trust, and I'm very bad at writing words, well, then it's not going to come across properly. Or I'm copying and pasting somebody else's words, it's not going to come across properly. Or if I'm trying to send a really cool meme, it's going to come across way differently than your mug on the screen will. Because when somebody can see your face and they can see your smile, they're immediately going to find ways in which they can connect you. There's a reason why viral videos go viral, but viral sentences don't really happen. I've never seen anybody go, I got this viral sentence. Did you see the sentence? It's going around everywhere. This sentence, I mean, I don't know if you read this sentence. It's not happening. Videos are going viral because people can connect to it. They can see the story. They can feel they can feel it. Like there's something different that happens on video. And so when I say that, like, you're not using video again, and I love it. And Annette, I appreciate it. You're sharing that and you toss that out there. But if you're using video, you might as well be using a fax. I mean, if you're not using video, you might as well be using a fax machine. Video is the way in which we communicate now. COVID is 100% has proven that video is the way in which we communicate now. That's the truth, and that's where the bucket we're sitting in. So if I'm going to be marketing, I'm going to build it from my mission, vision, value statement. If you don't have this, I'm happy to help. You're going to be able to use video. You have to utilize video. If you're not using video, you're using a fax machine in your business. I'm said it a million times, and it's just true. And the last thing is to look at is that your social media is going to be consistency. You have to create social media consistency. This is our voice. It used to be like shopping carts, right? Your marketing was on shopping carts, or it was on the HOA documents, or it was on, a phone book, or it was in somebody's directory, or you're part of a marketing group, or it used to be all of those things. This is where our voice is now. Our voice is in social media. You have to understand social media. Luckily, if you're on this, you understand a little bit about social media, but you have to understand social media. If you want to be able to create marketing, you have to have social media consistency. And here's one of the things I love about social media. I get the opportunity to be omnipresent. Now, I'm going to borrow this term from James, which is, I don't know if you know Zillow Killer. You can go find him. James says this all the time, and I'm going to translate it a little bit differently in my opinion. You're omnipresent because you're there all the time. Your content doesn't die. My phone conversation hangs up. My email gets deleted. My video lives for forever. I am omnipresent. Somebody could Google me at any time. And so if I'm going to be able to create a marketing plan that keeps me moving forward at the most basic element, I need to know and understand how to create social media content that will show the world who I am consistently. I'm going to give you a story, and this is a bad story. I need to be delicate. There's an agent that I know, and they are pretty good at what they do. If you were to go and give them a test about the skill sets around mastering real estate, if you were to give them a quiz on any of the things that we even talked about today, my guess is that they would score 50 to 60%. And again, I'm not being rude. I'm trying to find a way to be nice. And it's not about their ability to do the business or not to do the business. The point of what I'm saying is that if you were to rank the world of agents, they would be average, okay? They would be average. They'd be right there in the middle. But if you look at their production, they're above average. They are murdering people in the business. And that's actually why I like them, is that they really do really well. And the reason why they do really well is because they're the most consistent person I've ever seen in my life. They are everywhere, literally everywhere. I see them in my community more than I see almost anybody else. And it's just the consistency. Now, I don't mean to be rude, and hopefully they'll never find this or assume that I'm talking about them. If you assume I'm not talking about you, just call me. I'm probably not talking about you. But I would tell you, like, skill set, they are average. And I think that that's an okay thing to say. But in reality, by volume and by sheer amount of work, they are top notch. It's because they're consistent. So they found their strength and they live in their strength and they do it every single day. You need social media consistency in your marketing plan. The only way you get to a marketing plan is to understand your mission, vision, values, and you've got to be using video. If you want to understand the basics of business, this is what you're doing. And if this is what you're doing a month ago, your business is fine today. If your business is not fine today, my guess is that in one of these spaces, either prospecting, lead generation, conversion, or marketing, you've let one of those things down to try and find the secret sauce or to find a magic wand. The reality is that the magic was in you the whole time. It was just about always, every single day, executing the basics. Anytime market shifts, we get this moment of wanting to recreate or make something new or be the next fad. We don't have to do that. When we look at the business side of this, it's all about getting into the basics and executing the basics over and over and over and over again to be the most boring person in the world. If you looked at my schedule, I'm one of the most boring people in the world because I do every single thing, every single day, mastering the basics so that our agents can have everything they want. That's the goal. Be consistent in the most basic things and you will be boring. And your bank account will be brilliant. Here's the last thing I leave you with. This is your little pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I don't know if you can read that or not. It says cultivation. Cultivation. If I've put all of my effort into prospecting, lead generation, conversion, and marketing, and I have a list of people who are ready, willing, and able, and it's just a time frame, cultivation is the future of my world. What are you doing to consistently have conversation every single day with the people who are in your database? So then they feel as if you're in a relationship and not a transaction with them. You've got to be cultivating. Cultivation is king. None of this works at the end of the day without cultivating everything that you've built. All right, guys, go be amazing. And that's it.